Hello and welcome to the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley's program for this week. Every week we bring to you a new program on technology, innovation, humanitarian service, and education. My name is Midi Cheng and I am president of this Rotary Club. It's so wonderful to welcome you guys to our program this week. It's my honor to introduce one of our members and also charter president next to me, Russian Hurley. Russian, wave hi to everyone so they know. Awesome, that's Russian. Russian has a wonderful background in education where he served many positions from principal to Japanese teacher and currently runs a nonprofit called Next Vista for Learning. He's the founder, executive director there, and they do some great things, great videos for teachers and students. I am going to turn the floor over to Russian, who has the honor of introducing one of our callers here on the show, but also our guest speaker for the day.
Russian. Excellent. Thank you, Mitty. First of all, I want to introduce a guest who is with us. This is Susie Sahim. Susie, little wave action there. Susie is a senior web developer at Google, an accomplished artist and founder of the artist community Paper Demon, which is a really interesting place to go to learn about all kinds of cool things related to art. She and I have known each other for a long time because she's a former student of mine. And we were talking recently, and we were talking about ideas related to gamification. I said, "Oh, wait, you got to know about this speaker we've got coming up on Thursday." And at that point, I said, "Okay, you got to join us in for that." So speaking of the speaker we have on Thursday, that would be Shawn Young, and Shawn is our speaker today. You've read a little bit about him in the bio, but my background is that he and I are both in the educational technology community. Shawn is a former teacher who was making all kinds of cool things happen in his class, had an amazing idea that started going in powerful directions. And it was one of those things where he started riding that bull and stayed on it, right? So it'll be cool to hear kind of the detail about what he's working to make happen with it now. But any of you who think, oh, games and education, I know it's a worksheet with a little crossword on it, I suspect you will find this is a lot more than that. So with that, Shawn, I want to hand it over to you, and looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thanks, Russ. Really appreciate it. So hi, everybody. My name is Shawn. As Russ mentioned, I was a teacher for 10 years. I was also a web developer and had the idea to make my class a game and just ran a scrappy prototype, made it with my kids, and for 3 years just had that running in my classroom. At the time, I was working for 10 years as well as a web developer with my brother, and who's based in New York and is an art director. And together we decided to, I made a little website just to talk about what I was doing. And in one day it went viral on Reddit and 130,000 people came to the website. And it was clear from there that we needed to do something. And so we did. And today I'm going to talk to you about Classcraft, but within the scope of the gamification of education in a broader sense. And so the goal today is to talk about games to change school culture. So a lot of times when we think about games in education, as Russ was saying, we think about a crossword to learn words, or here's a little video game about fractions and human fractions, and so, or here's a simulation. A huge example that comes up a lot is classic is like Oregon Trail. Learn about settling the West with through this simulation game, and while those games are great, there's a few issues with them, and one of them is that they don't scale across the years, right? You're not going to spend the entire year playing Oregon Trail or learning about fractions. You have to do other stuff. And the second thing is that they have built into them assumptions, right? And so as a teacher, you have to teach around the game. You have to sometimes the games have false things in them and you have to unteach what the game taught. And so there's some things there, and what we're doing is not that. What we're doing is addressing the human need of being in school and socializing and making the actual experience of school something that's fun. And so the reason it came together is because there's actually a real crisis right now in education. This is a study from 2015 done by Gallup. 1 million students were surveyed, and what we can see is that engagement rates drop dramatically the longer kids are in school. And so It's okay around elementary school. By the time you get to grade 9, grade 10, grade 8, we're in the 40-30% range of students saying that they're engaged by school. So the longer kids are in school, the less they want to be there, which is obviously a problem because it means we're not doing our jobs right. And it also means that we're putting it, we're putting our dropout rates are affected by this really clearly. So, and part of the reasons for that is because we're competing with really compelling, awesome experiences. So, this is a bit of a stereotype, but we now have digital, more interactive versions of this worksheet. But basically, school is, a pretty bland experience compared to the rich online social experiences that kids are living at home. So they go to school and they just can't wait to get home so that they can do what they really care about, which is connect with their friends and create things in Minecraft or go explore through Pokemon Go or all these other online games. And so games now are not just an entertainment thing, they're actually a cultural phenomenon. Games as an industry is bigger than movies and music put together. And there's conferences, there's stars in the video game world now, there's sports leagues in the video game world. So there's this whole society built around games that is massive. Esports alone had 1 billion viewers last year. So huge social, cultural trend that's happening right now to our young people, but not just our young people. This is data around, it's produced by the ESA every year, the Entertainment Software Association that produces statistics, and we see that 60% of Americans play video games multiple times a week. That idea that it's not just young people, there are more 65-year-old and up gamers than there are 18 or less. So it's everybody. It's not just men, it's guys and girls. 40% of gamers are women. Parents play with their kids. And when we look at this, a whopping 10,000 hours will be played by each child by the time they finish school. And so that is more time playing video games than they'll have spent sitting in a classroom. So by the time they finish school, they will have spent more time playing video games than they will have sitting in school. And this is alarming, but at the same time, we need to tap into this and see what's good here. What are they learning? How can we tap into that, and how can we leverage it to make them more interested in school? And that's where Classcraft comes in. The idea with Classcraft is not to teach math through a game, but to make school like a game. So the game is the real life experience of coming in school, and that is a pretty hard to understand concept. So I'm just going to give you a couple examples here. So it's an app. It runs in a browser. There's an Android app. There's an iOS app. It's a proper video game, if you will. But these are kids playing Classcraft. And these kids, this is a school in Spain. And they're in school. They are obviously quite happy to play Classcraft. I mean, they built their own suits of armor with our logos. They split themselves up into clans. And I'm just going to unshare and reshare here so you can get the audio. But they created these clans, and this is what Classcraft looks at like on a school-wide level. So you look at this and you're like, oh my God, they're not learning anything. There's no math happening here. There's no reading, and there's no app, right? What happened to this app? So there's a few things that are pretty striking here. The first thing is there's no app in this picture, and they're clearly playing Classcraft. So the game is happening despite there not being any technology in this picture. The other fascinating thing is that they aren't actually doing coursework here, but there's no way to deny that they're extremely motivated to be there. I mean, they made their suits of armor. They got into teams. They, learned a choreography and are now like facing it off. And so the idea is if you can get kids excited and motivated enough to do this, then you can probably get them excited and motivated enough to do anything in school. And we've seen some studies that have started coming out around Classcraft that are going in that direction. This was a study done in Poland where they saw that in a history class using Classcraft, they saw a 10% increase of grades. across that class compared to the entire school. This is a study that was done in Barcelona where they had 50% of students said they were bored in school before Classcraft. After Classcraft, 15%. What's even more surprising in this study is that 60% of students said they were interested in sciences. It was a science class before Classcraft, and 90% were interested in sciences after Classcraft, which is amazing because Classcraft doesn't teach science. It gets kids really excited and dressed up in suits of armor. And so, but we're getting them super engaged and excited about coming to school and learning stuff. And so we launched this 2 years ago. We're now in 75 countries. We're in every state. We've got more than 2 million people on the platform. We've got kids coming to school with even more elaborate costumes, and kids getting trophies. Teachers going beyond the game and making their own maps and universes around this. And so, really, really fascinating stuff in terms of transforming the human relationships and what's going on in the school. And so I'm going to switch over a little bit to the platform. There's a lot that can be said about, how, what is it about games? Why games? Other than culturally, what is it that makes them, so significant to kids? And there's a few things. One of the things that makes games really amazing is the sense of agency. So feeling that you're in control of your own destiny, and feeling that you get immediate feedback, right? So every time you do things in a game, you progress in the game. In a game, there's also this safe space notion where it's okay to fail. If you die in a game, you just reset and start again. And then you die, and then you reset and start again, and then you die and reset and start again. And at some point, you get better and you actually win. So within the game, there's this safe space where you can succeed. And the goal is to make kids feel really great about succeeding at school. And part of what makes games great also is social dynamics. So Classcraft is a collaborative game. A lot of people think gamification, they think leaderboards, they think competition. There's no real way to compete in Classcraft. It was built that way. And so I'll just show you a little bit how it works. And we could talk for hours about it, but only have 4.5 more minutes, 5.5 more minutes. So I'll just give you the high level overview. Basically, kids playing teams of warriors, healers, and mages. And this lasts throughout the year. And the goal for them is to do a few things. The first thing is to gain great powers. So they can have powers to heal themselves, powers like being able to eat in class, powers to be like being able to hand in an assignment a day late, powers like getting a hint on an exam question. Teachers can edit these, but the goal is for them to get real life benefits from performing in the game. So kids really want these because they have an impact on their real life. The other thing they get is the ability to customize and deck out their characters. It seems insignificant if you're not a gamer, but for these kids, it's really important. We have literally billions of combinations of gear. And so, the kids start out kind of dorky, and then as they level up, they can get cooler and cooler, and, mix and match. Every character you can change the shield, change the bow, change all the things. You can collect little pets. And so as the year goes on, you're developing this more and more powerful version of yourself. And for some other kids, what's really important is the team dynamics. And so the way kids get these points is through a variety of means, but the most basic way is the teacher just gives them points for whatever they want to encourage. So teachers will give points for, curricular things like speaking Spanish, but also things like, asking good questions, being attentive in class. So people using it with special needs kids to teach them social behaviors, like autistic kids. They get points whenever they say hello in class to each other, because these are kids who have social challenges. So teacher gives them points, and as they get these points, they level up, they unlock these powers, they unlock this gear. Now, the flip side to that is that they are playing in teams, and they can lose health points for negative behavior. So positive behavior is one scale, and if you do negative things, then you'll lose health points, so a different scale. So your progress always goes up. Even if you're not the best student, you are always progressing in this game. But you can lose health points for being rude, bullying. Say she was a bully, loses health points, and now she only has 5 left, and she's rude, loses all her health points, and falls in battle. And they'll get a real life consequence. So teachers here can put anything they want, but it'll be things like learn and recite a poem, copy a text, bring treats for the whole class, real life things. So in the same way that they get real life benefits, they can also have real life consequences. There's also one which is nothing. Sometimes they can get off the hook and they're really excited when that happens. So that's what happened here. And when that happens, the whole team loses health points. So they're all penalized because they let Harriet here do poorly in the game. And what that creates is this feeling of them being in it together. So they're going to say, hey, Harriet, you got to stop being rude. You're penalizing us. Hey, Harriet, why don't I help you with your homework? Because yesterday you didn't hand it in. We all lost health points because of you. And so kids start auto-regulating each other's behavior. Now, this would be frustrating for them if they didn't have agency. So kids can also do things like protect each other. So here Anita is going to lose 10 health points. Well, Kareem can step in. He's a warrior. He's a shield. He can protect her, take damage for her. And every time that they do these powers, they automatically gain experience points. So the game explicitly rewards them points for helping each other out. So the best way to level up in Classcraft is actually to just help out your teammates and be a good class colleague. So that's that's Classcraft in its essence, which is classroom management, but it goes beyond that. So for example, there's a whole set of tools here. Things like every day there's a random event, and the random events will be things like, all the warriors have to stay standing for the class. So goofy things like everybody has to talk like a pirate for the day. So at the beginning of class, these things start, and the goal here is to create this collective feeling of, oh my God, we're going to class, anything could happen. Remember that time we all had to speak in squeaky voices? That was crazy. And so getting kids really excited about what's happening in class. There's other things like boss battles where they can, teachers put in questions and kids can answer them and gain points. But again, this is formative assessment. And kids don't really care about formative assessment because it doesn't count on their grades. So how do you make it count? You make it collective. So they're together fighting a monster. It's not each other fighting each other. It's we're going to answer questions. And in doing that, if I get the answer right, I will deal damage to the monster. And then it picks a different student, and she has to answer questions. And if they together defeat the monster, everybody gets a giant reward. But if you don't get the answers right, then you lose health points. And there's misses and critical hits. Just like in a normal battle. There's really intense music here as well. So really creating this feel of like, oh my God, we're in this battle, what's going on? And having kids encourage each other to do their coursework. So this goes further. Teachers can put in content here and it's gamified. They get analytics reports of the behavior for children throughout the school year. Parents can check it out. Parents can partake in the game and give points at home. On a limited basis, but they're part of the game as well. So that's all the time I have. I'll take some questions now.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shawn. That was amazing. I'm going to pass over to Russian first to lead the questions, and then I have a couple questions for you too.
Cool. So Shawn, I mean, as you're presenting on that, some things are flying into my head, like 5 points for Gryffindor, and I'm wondering, if there are certain experiences you had or things you saw or read that kind of got you started down that path. I mean, clearly doing something that worked in the classroom was a big piece of that. But that would kind of be my first question: is like, what got you going down this path?
I'm a gamer, but also I had and Devin as well, we both had really terrible experiences in schools and our school experience. And for me as an educator, I really wanted to make sure that part of why I had such a terrible experience was I just didn't get why I was wasting all this time in school. It was so boring. And as a teacher, I wanted to make sure that my kids had the most meaningful experience possible. And part of that came from, creating really awesome projects and school projects. And after I did that and we're having a great time, learning physics, it's like, I can take this a step further and like really get them engaged. And that's when I came up with the idea for Classcraft of just, let's make it a full out game, because I love these games. I'm obviously super motivated putting hundreds of hours into games like Skyrim. So there's something there. Why don't we make the class more like that? And so I did.
Very cool. Very cool. And when you look at something like the experience of I think those were students at the school in Spain that were kind of, they dressed up and everything. They were in the gym. I was thinking about the haka, the Maori war dance, and what you see from their rugby team when they're getting started, and wonder if that's also an element of it, trying to find pieces of games that students are starting to say, hey, it's kind of like this, and it rather than asking them to memorize something, they're asking them to make connections. And I'm guessing that there's a number of stories that you've got on that front where teachers are saying, hey, this happened as we were doing this event in Classcraft.
We have thousands and thousands of testimonials. It's wild, but a whole bunch of things stand out. There's a lot of things that are happening around Classcraft that are beyond the scope of what we can imagine. One teacher last year had a random event that was, from now, he had a daily quiz, and the event was, from now on, I won't shave if somebody gets 100% on the daily quiz. And until somebody doesn't, then I will shave. And so it lasted 7 months. Where kids, and these weren't high-performing kids, but they were so motivated to get his beard as long as possible that they just studied like crazy. And after 7 months, the principal's like, "You look like a homeless person. What's going on?" It's like, "Yeah, but look at my test scores," and you just have this huge beard, and it's like, and it seems ridiculous, right? You're like, really grow a beard to get your kids to study, but that's what it is. It's about culture. It's about getting kids. That relationship piece is really, really important. And Classcraft, what it does is creates a new relationship with the teacher as the game master, but it also creates new relationships between students. We have kids spontaneously tutoring each other out of, saying, I had a student who went from failing to 85% average in one semester. I'm like, how did that happen? What's going on? Like, what's your secret? He's like, actually, my Classcraft team just started helping me because they wanted the team to do better. Like, they should have told me I would have given points. It's like, no, they didn't want you to know because they thought maybe you think that we were cheating. It was like amazing, right? So a lot of stories like that where the culture completely changes because it's about underlining and making public all the good things kids are doing and making them feel good about themselves and giving them agency.
Very cool. Thanks.
That's awesome. Shawn, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how does Classcraft really incorporate and go for schools and districts. I noticed on your website, you guys have a crazy affordable plan for teachers, $8 a month. And then I also noticed there's the section for schools and districts. So in your experience, when you guys have schools and districts kind of sign up with you, is that something where the teachers have kind of petitioned and they've internally told the school board and have had them approach you? Or is it something where your team actually goes around and, you solicit different school districts and you talk to them about what you guys do, and have you mostly be getting your school district signups that way?
It's bottom up. So what we do is teachers share it. We have a group of ambassadors. Teachers get really excited about Classcraft, and because it's so transformative, they would get excited about sharing it. And so we made it so teachers could sign up. There's a free version as well that is, most of what I showed you now is part of the free version actually. And then sometimes they pay out of pocket and go on the paid version. But we know which schools they're in. They tell us, like, hey, what school are you in? So they tell us, and then when we see that there's 12 teachers in this school using Classcraft, then we call the principal and we're like, hey, you've got 12 people using Classcraft, and 8 are paying for it out of pocket. That doesn't make sense. And so a lot of it happens that way. Sometimes it comes the other way, and it's more like you're saying, like 1 or 2 teachers get really into it, they convince the principal, and they come to us. But in the way that we're being more proactive is we're reaching, we see where the teachers are, and then we just help them catalyze, and then when it does, reach out to the proper person.
Nice. And then my other question was in regards to where do you see Classcraft in maybe 5 or 10 years from now? And part of that question also relates to having virtual reality and augmented reality becoming a bigger part of growing technology trends in the coming years. Where do you see the evolution of Classcraft? Do you see virtual reality and augmented reality as part of that?
Yeah, I mean, for us right now, the goal is to gamify all of education, and in the broad sense, and that means right now we're building an API so that we can gamify other edtech platforms. So do a quiz on this other platform and get points in Classcraft, and basically creating this layer of engagement on top of not just the brick and mortar experience, but digital experience that kids are going through. And so for us, what that means is meeting kids where they are at in their school experience through the game and through these game mechanics. And so when VR and AR become a thing in schools, we'll definitely be there. We'll see when that happens. From a budget perspective, it's like a VR headset right now is, it makes sense when all the kids have the devices, right? Right now we built it so it works really good on Chromebooks because that's what the kids have. The day that kids all have VR headsets, we'll be there, but that may not be 5 or 10 years from now. We'll have to see the technology become a lot more affordable before that happens. I think AR is something that's is more on our radar short term, because there's a lot of cool stuff you can do, with geolocation and that type of stuff. And kids do have phones, right? You could leverage the phones to do that. So I think AR is much more on the short-term horizon than VR.
Well, good. Well, thanks for answering those questions. Susie or Roger, do either of you have a question or a comment? Roger, if you want to unmute yourself, and then Susie will pass it to you.
Thank you, Shawn, for the wonderful presentation. Prior to coming on today, I went onto your website, and I had and I played on it for about 30 minutes.
Awesome.
And it reminded me of an experience which I had about 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, my oldest daughter was in preschool. And at that time, I had computerized, but I didn't know how to type, and I was teaching myself how to type. One day from the preschool teacher gave us out a handout on the importance of play. And as a result, I read what she was saying in regards to play, and I looked at it and I said, well, gee, this can be applied to me. And so what I did is I changed my attitude to learning myself how to type, to putting it into a play mode, which was very successful in changing my attitude and taught me how to type. And so I would just like to share that with you in terms of what I'm seeing from what you've done, is you've incorporated here that whole concept of play into 30 years later. And I want to thank you.
Thanks. And the idea isn't new. I think what's surprising to me is nobody did before us. But people look at it like, oh, obviously. It's like maybe most good ideas are like that. But research shows that we learn through play. And the reason for that is because we learn from making mistakes. And when you play, you can make mistakes. And you're supposed to make mistakes. And, when you see kids, they'll play with Legos and then they'll destroy it. And then they'll make another, and in that process of creation and destruction and, creating a really high tower, and then it didn't work. And then trying it, the iterative creative process is how we really learn. And I think we've known that for a long time. I think what's different now is to do something on the scale of Classcraft, to really gamify real life. You kind of need the tech. I mean, you could run Classcraft with a paper, right? You could just write points on a paper and, manage that, but that would be a crazy amount of work. And so what we've done is built this flexible, modifiable, super easy to use framework to allow any teacher to do that. And I think that's, where kind of the genius is from taking these ideas and creating them into something that anybody could use, not just, a physics teacher or a math teacher or an English teacher. I think I also want to leverage what you just said to say, I use the term gamification because it's what people understand. But we're not actually doing that. Because gamification is, let's use game mechanics and strap them onto something that's not a game and make it feel like a game. And what we're actually doing is, and this is a scientific term from social sciences, but it's ludicization. And ludicization is the idea that you create a situation from which play can emerge. And those are really different things. What we're doing is creating a social context from which kids become and feel playful about. And from there, leveraging that feeling of playfulness to do a whole bunch of things. But it's not about giving and getting points. It's about creating that vibe in the classroom that's like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And the second you get there, you can do anything. And so for us, it's really about that. And so I really echo your sentiment that I think that also why 30 years later maybe is also because games now have become really mainstream. It used to be that games were like, oh, let's be serious. And then it was like, oh, video games make you fat and violent. And now it's everybody plays games on their phone. My grandmother's 93 and she plays Scrabble with her friends all over the world, right? And so it's become such a mainstream idea that now I think the education market and the education practitioners are ready to adopt it in a real large way.
Awesome.
Sorry, that was a bit of a long answer.
Thank you for the answer, Shawn. Susie, I'm going to turn it to you for the last question or comment.
Cool. Thank you so much, Shawn, for speaking with us today. I had a question about, there's a lot of complexity in the game. So I was wondering, what is the onboarding experience like when a student starts using Classcraft for the first time? How are they introduced to all of the complexities of the mechanics? Is that something they've introduced a little at a time, or how does that process happen?
The students or the teachers?
Well, I guess maybe I should.
There's two onboarding processes.
I'm actually interested in both.
Okay. So let's start with the teachers because they're the ones who actually need the most onboarding. We have a lot of teachers coming to Classcraft who've never played a video game. And so when they create an account, we walk them through hey, here's XP, here's GP, here's how it all kind of works. And then we do that in 1 minute, and then we get them create your rules, and we just get them okay, what would you want kids to do? So here are good behaviors, bad behaviors, and we have them set that up, and we give them suggestions, and they can, I want a different suggestion, and they just super easily rotate it through, and then they make the teams, and then they get into a moment where they can present it to their students. So now in 5 minutes, they've gone from create an account to I kind of know what this game is to okay, I got my rules to and teams and I'm ready to show it to my kids. Now at any point there, they can take a pause and there's a demo class so they can just poke around and there's fake players and they can basically break it and it's fine. And then we have a really, really powerful help section where there's a lot of videos for each little subsection, help articles. We have somebody on staff who from 9 to 5, all she does is answer questions teachers may have over chat. So just debugging people in real time. And then there's an interactive presentation that the teacher shows to the students. It's you could imagine it as a keynote, but it's, keynote on steroids. It's built right into the app and it's got videos and it's got, interactive team builders where, kids can choose their team names and all of that. And then when they're ready, they can then sign into Classcraft. They can do the manual use a code way, or they can use their Google Classroom accounts and just log in right away. And provisioning happens right out of Google. And then they have a classic video game onboarding thing. So, do you want a guy or girl avatar? Which skin tone do you want, etc. And pick your first power, pick your character class. And so they create their character, and then they can choose their team name. Their teams have locations and they have a crest. And so they create their team identity and then they're ready to go. And so the teacher does kind of the explaining piece of how the game works. But the reality is the kids, you're hey, you'll get points for good behavior. They're got it. We have some people who are I'm 63. I've never played a video game in my life. I've been teaching for 30 years, and I've been using Classcraft for 2 years. I still don't really know how it works, but my kids really know how it works, and they help me. And so there's always 3 or 4 or 5, kids who really understand RPGs and are help onboard the whole class as well, right? So it's we put a lot of energy into the onboarding. It used to take like 4 hours to get set up, and now it takes like 5 minutes. And it was a huge problem like 3 years ago, and just been iterating on the onboarding process. Put a lot of energy there because it's really important that people can feel like they understand it really fast, because otherwise they don't have time, right? So and then baby steps, right? I only showed you like half the platform, or not even. So we just tell people like start small, and then hey, click this button. There's a whole other universe of stuff you can do in the game, but you don't have to start with that. And so allowing people to take baby steps as well is really important.
Wonderful. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And hi to whoever's watching this. You can check it out at classcraft.com. A lot of info there.
Thank you so much, Shawn, for all of your time. And there will be links below this video to Classcraft, as well as any other links that Shawn may want us to include. Shawn, we really appreciate your time. The work that you are doing is amazing. And it's speaking as a gamer myself, I can say that this is definitely something when I was growing up, I wish I had. So kudos to what you and your team are doing. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for this week's program. We will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Cheers.